Fun. We're live.
Hey everybody, you're listening to the Combo Wombo podcast. I'm Chip Monk. With me as always, Mister Gimpy.
Chipmunk, what's going on, dude? Happy
What's
11th
going on,
episode, my
bro?
bro.
It's the
Shit, man.
big. I thought we said we were gonna stop putting numeric values to them. That way we could just slide them in whenever. Like we'll
I was
always.
I was gonna, but after episode 10, man, it was such a banger of a conversation, man. I feel like we can't top it, you know? It's just like let's just like episode 11, it's like the end of a season, right? When you have like some huge event that happens and then you reset,
When
start from day 1. That's all I'm saying.
so I noticed that we put our like pods on like seasons on YouTube.
Yeah.
When is season 1 over?
That's a good question, man. We could do TV style where it's like we can go up to episode 24. We don't have a 24 episode season, such as like The Simpsons and some of the bigger shows like that. We can stop at 13 and say season 2 starts at episode 14, like a smaller series, like the hour long series. You know?
Well, yeah, like half hours usually go 24. Hour long
Yeah,
usually go 13.
yeah, yeah.
Depending on their time slot and like distribution.
That's true.
Otherwise, like they don't give enough like Netflix. Like there'll be the episodes of like Daredevil where like some of them are like 40 minutes, some of them are like an hour and a half. Like they're
Yeah.
just like whatever it takes to tell a good story. That's what we're about.
True, true. That's not what we're about, though. We'll just stop, cut it here, and just go. That's the season. What's up? I feel like after 10, though, like that
I
was like
cut our
the
last up like I was editing episode 8 and I cut that at like one. I was like, this feels like a good stopping point. And I
yeah,
just cut the episode there because I like looked at the rest of it and I was just like, whatever.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, this is a great stopping point. We end on like you tell like a ridiculously good joke, and I'm like, all right, yeah, let's just end it. What was the George Costanza? Like you leave on
Oh yeah, you leave on a high note. Just walk out. Just
yeah,
get
just
the hell
walk
out.
out. Yep.
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure. That's the way to do it, man. I mean, I think we have after doing it for a little bit here. I think we've developed a rapport, where we could kind of see where each other's going with this, like if we agree with it or not, and we know what button to hit to just like take that episode and like extend it for like another 20 minutes, just
Well,
like
I think it's just like we know each other enough to where it's like this is where like the interesting bits are, and I enjoy like your perspective. Like I know that you'll give me a perspective I haven't considered on like certain things, like
yeah,
Ninja Turtles,
for sure.
on comic books, on video games. Like,
For sure, for sure. I feel like we touched on movies quite a bit too. That kind of was like an uncovering as well, because we ended up talking about like the fighting. Like I was rewatching Seven, and like talking about going from beat 'em ups to like beat up like video game movies, just like inadvertently, and going, oh yeah, this is
yeah,
good, this is good. And then it kind of stemmed off into the martial arts movies, which I mean was something that I always thought, like I've always been interested in it, and not many people have seen the amount of martial art movies I have, and you knew exactly what I was talking about each one. I was like, damn, this could be a whole separate pod, man. Like,
yeah, dude. We could
like,
just talk about classic movies. Like I got rid of my old collection because it was on VHS, dude.
mm,
Remember VHS?
sure
Like
do, sure
there
do.
was before the internet when you wanted to get like those classic movies
Yeah.
before the collections all started like hitting like Blu-rays and DVDs. There was only VHS, and like I was fortunate enough to know like a guy who owned a movie rental place, and
Oh,
so like he
nice.
could catalog order things, and I'd be like, yeah, give me Snake in the Eagle's Shadow. That sounds fucking dope. It's with Jackie Chan. Just give me that. And I watched that. That changed my whole trajectory in life.
Yeah, man.
You know.
Was it Snake and the
Uh,
Little Shadow was your first Jackie Chan movie? Or
uh, no, I want to say like it has to be close. It's definitely like one of the first like 3. I think I had seen like the Chinese Connection and like the Game of Death around that time. Like I'd seen like 2 or 3 Bruce Lee movies,
yeah,
and then I was like, I think like everybody else, I'd seen like Rumble in the Bronx, and I'm
yeah.
like, who is this young Jackie Chan character? Let me see more about him. And then like I got like all the back catalog where I would like buy direct from like a catalog that you yeah. So I was extremely fortunate with like that stuff. So
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
mine was probably the first Drunken Master, just by virtue of seeing it on TV. And I was like, holy crap, this dude's amazing. And my uncle's like, huh, you haven't seen anything, so he just like lends me like a giant VHS collection. He was one who would buy like import VHSs too, so sometimes it wouldn't even be subbed. It would just he's just like
Like,
just watch it
here's
through.
straight Mandarin, bro. Ni hao
Yeah,
ma. Zhou shi
exactly.
shar. Like,
Exactly, dude. But what really solidified my love for martial arts movies was the very first Once Upon a Time in China with Jet Li. There's a scene where
yeah,
they're
it's a good
fighting
one.
on ladders in a burning building. That was so cool. And then it was like game over from there. I'm like, I'm getting everything. So
Yeah.
I was always very critical of fight scenes in movies for the
I
longest time.
think that was kind of like the divide was like the wushu. I want to say is that the proper term where it's like becomes more mystical and fantastical and like the
Yeah, Once Upon a
battle
Time in
scenes.
China like really skirts that line. It's like just fantastical enough where you like not
It's pretty
everything can be done in
fantastical,
life,
dude.
but it's like it's like not so wushu where they're like flying, you know.
Yeah, they're not shooting energy beams. I think that's where you really cross the line. Like that's
True, true.
oh man, that was like one of my favorite Jelly movies too. I can't remember the name off the top of my dome where he is like a monk with his monk brother and he joins the military and
Kids in
this
Shaolin or something like that. Is
yeah,
that
probably something like that. But like they end up like shooting like balls of energy at each other towards the end, and you're like, okay, he's called like maybe it was Tai Chi Master or something like that. Yeah, I don't know.
Who's that? Yeah.
Anyway, like Red Dragon with Jet Li, I know like that gets pretty fantastical as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
like Jet Li, like in that early '90s era, they like just go full wushu where they're like explosions. People want to see fire bombs. They want to see spirit possessions. They want to see
Right.
like
Right.
it's not like Jackie Chan's spiritual kung fu. I would consider that kind of wushu esque because like he's like a janitor at a Shaolin temple, and he's like cleaning up, and he finds like an old a tome
Yeah.
tome of kung fu, and he's like dusting it off. Also, like the worst CGI like sprites you've ever seen in your life fall out of the book, and they're
Yep.
like, bro, and he's like, all right, well, I'm gonna kick your asses, otherwise you're gonna have to teach me kung fu. And they're like, I guess we're teaching the janitor kung fu then.
Right,
Uh,
right. Yeah.
yeah, man.
I feel Jackie Chan always has like the jobs where he's the everyman, and that's his point. But it's like he's always like when he's not the cop or something like in the police story movies, he's like a janitor, some sort of cleaner. Like I
They
think
keep trying to make
Armor of
like
God is like the only time where he's like because it's basically his Indiana Jones series,
yeah,
So
he's an
it's
archaeologist. Yeah.
yeah, that's like the only like job of clout that he has. Otherwise, he's just like run of the mill sailor, like Project A stuff like that.
They had like they keep making police stories. Dude, they dropped one in like the 2000s where it's like new police story.
That one was
Uh,
dope, dude. That was
it was a dude like
it was
I don't
dark. It
know.
was
Like,
darker by choice, but I felt it was
there was like a Manny Pacquiao, the boxer, retired, and I was like, you know what? I'm sad to see him retire, but I'm happy he did because that last fight, I saw glimpses of his greatness, and I'm happy that he realizes like he can't achieve what he could in his youth.
yeah,
A new police story. I felt the kind of the same way for Jackie Chan, where I'm like, maybe you shouldn't be doing like this anymore, Jackie. Like, maybe you should hire some stuntmen. Like, you got a great team. Like,
yeah.
I
Step
know he's
down.
like 6'3" or something. Like, so it's kind of probably hard to find like a stuntman like that tall and stuff who can do the physicality and all the stuff he can. But I'm done with seeing him break apart his body, and like he's definitely lost a step since like the tuxedo. uh
It's like this is one of his worst American movies. But yeah, you're right.
that
I mean,
movie's good. That movie's solid, dude.
it's solid enough, but I mean,
It's fun. Like if you
when
go
you
into it like the right mindset of like
yeah
um if you think of it in like the genres of like Spies Like Us, I Spy,
yeah
uh like that type of like lampooning
right
uh the
like the Get
espionage
Smart
genre.
series and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Like it's Mr. Bean when he
right.
does his thing.
I get it. I get it. But yeah, man, I feel like we haven't talked in a week. What have you been up to, man? Like gaming, anything to report?
Bro, I've been all right, so all right. On game night, I ended up
It's a
doing a chess.
mission.
Yeah, I ended up doing like a chess tournament, and I won the chess tournament with the boys. Like
Yep.
Thursday night throwdown with the boys. I
Yep.
ran the slate. I got a heart of the table on a 2-move checkmate, which
No.
yeah, dude. Like I remember getting this done to me like back when I was a youth, and I was so pissed all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I don't even. This is fucking bullshit. And like that's when you start to realize like why the opening gambits are the way they are is
Yep.
because like if you foolishly lock in your own king, then like you can just move the queen over and you're like, that's game. That was like the final match. I ended in 2 moves, and it seemed almost like a joke because like it was like a tournament where there's like a bunch of people. So it's like the final round had started, and I'm in the final round, and like I'd been struggling. Like the first match, I was kind of struggling. The second match, I almost lost. I wanted to end in a draw. And then the third match, I was just like, they're like, all right, yeah, oh, it's starting right now. And all of a sudden, I'm like, all right, checkmate, GG. And everyone's like, thought I was joking. I was like, all right, guys, I'm gonna head to bed. And they're like, but we just started our match. And I'm like, yeah, dude. Uh, get got, kids, get
they're
got.
they're they're playing for second place. Is what they're playing for.
They're playing for like third and fourth place. Like, uh,
It's crazy. So I've by virtue of you winning so fast, I missed that game night. I even posted. I was like, I'm
yeah,
gonna be late. We're playing chess. All right, bet I'm ready. And I showed up. Like I figured I'd be an hour late, right? Like it's a. I know you're on like way earlier, but it typically starts like at 8 when a lot of people start rolling in.
yeah.
I'm like,
Like
shit,
I
I'm not
just
gonna
got
make it.
a text from Heart of the Table where he's like, "Hey, where you at? We're about to start. We need one more." And I was like, because I've been. So the whole idea of Chestnut was suggested by Grizel de Blanco,
Okay, yeah, yeah,
Mister aka Mister Butterballs,
for
aka
sure,
Mister Steal Your Girl.
for sure,
Uh,
for sure.
he
Shout
was
out to
like, "Oh,
Butter.
we should." Yeah, he's like, we should all do like a chess night. We should play chess because he just got into it with his roommate,
Yeah.
and I was like, so he suggested that, and then he didn't even show up like the whole game night. I don't think so.
That's the man who has a house party at his house, doesn't even show up to it.
Yeah, uh, definitely that's him 100.
For sure.
Uh, but I've been so before that, like people are like, "What have you been up to? What have you been doing?" I've been listening to this. Uh, so there's an audio book of Supreme Mangus by Legion 20,
Okay.
and it's a web novel. It's basically like Edge Lord Harry Potter. if like if Harry Potter was like a sociopath, like
Yeah.
that's what this web novel is basically doing,
Okay.
and
Okay.
I'm okay with that. And I'm like, all right, yeah, let's see what happens. And like, I don't. The author paints a good enough reason for everybody in that world to be. So there's like no GPS. Like it's kind of like there's like a whole web series of like might equals right, where it's
Okay.
like in like a new it's isekai into a new world, and it's like the strong control the weak, and so he kind of sets up the world where it's like, yeah, if you're like strong or wealthy enough, you can do whatever to anybody, whatever, fuck it. But now that I'm like deeper into, so he basically goes through the Harry Potter uh
Arc
arc,
of learning. Yeah.
yeah, and that ended probably around. Let me look here real quick. Probably around like uh three or chapter 3 or 400. But like, hold on, a chapter of a web novel is basically like 3 or 4 paragraphs. It's like a page.
Okay.
So
Okay. So
yeah.
it's got it.
So basically, it's like I'm like I'm fucking deep in. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
You know, pop the link
where
of
am I at?
let's say pop
I'm
the
like
link so
six.
people can check it out.
No, fuck them. They're gonna have to like type in Supreme Mangus web novel. The audio books are basically like a robot reading it to you, but I'm around like chapter 600, 650.
Okay.
So yeah, if he completes like his Harry Potter school around like 3 or 400, he becomes like a ranger and like starts going around in the world like fucking up shit. And it's like every cool edgelord edgelord thing you can think of, where he's like, I'm a ranger. I like everybody tries to get close to me. He's like, you don't want to get close to me. I'm fucking darkness. So it's like, all right, dude. Like, that's
It's
like every 5 steps forward he takes like 20 steps back for
gotcha.
character development because they're like, I don't know what to do. But I feel like if the author went back and like rewrote at this point, he'd probably have a better understanding of his story
Gotcha.
overall.
So he's just taking it
Yeah.
as he goes, and the character's transforming as the author transforms. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I would say that's all web novels in a nutshell. Like you're writing week to week, you're writing like 3 or 4 chapters a week, which is like, 3 or 4 pages of like actual writing.
Okay.
Uh so, if you're up to like 600, that's whatever, 60 weeks of writing, which is, 2 years of like being dedicated to your craft, which is about like what, 3.5 years of writing, 4 years maybe.
What, 60
You're gonna
weeks? It's like a year and it's 52 weeks in a year. So
Okay, yeah, like a year and a half,
yeah,
year and a
sure.
quarter.
Yeah,
You're like, whatever.
yeah.
Your
It's
math
getting lower and lower
is
when you do it. The math
your
is
math
off.
is suspect, but whatever. Uh, I would say like you grow a lot in like a year and a half, and like
Yeah,
you're like, especially like when you're getting feedback, it's like one of the bigger web novels as well. And
for
it
sure.
seems like he's definitely learned a lot. Like he or she, I don't know I don't care. Uh, them, they, their, them, zimzer,
Yeah,
zemzers, learning a lot from like the feedback, and they seem to be implying it right now around like 600 of like uh making the character more well-rounded, more believable as like a person trying to navigate that world.
gotcha.
But I think they've also forgot like the world they set up in the beginning of like it's awful people doing awful shit just because they can and they're powerful.
Okay, okay. Good.
And now they're like, oh, maybe there's consequences for the main character because they're the main character. Uh,
Gotcha, gotcha.
so
So the
it's
me.
like, yeah, like one of the first things he does is like some noble dude's like, give me your food, you starving peasant, because he's a starving peasant. And he's like, you know what, bro? There's no GPS. There's nothing to like tie me to this crime. He's like, get got, noob, and like beats their ass and like kills them. And they're like, the Lord's gonna hear about this. The noble household. He's like, bro, how? There's no, phones or television in this like old ass old world. There's no
Okay,
cameras. There's no GPS. He's like, boom, kills them like him and his guard instantly. So it goes from him like setting up a world like that to being like, oh, now there's a mage that can like track your steps to like where you've gone in like the last little bit and track you down. And it's in, it definitely kind of makes sense with like power scope, and it's a
okay.
well enough written story where I've gotten to like chapter 600. So
Gotcha, gotcha. So it's like a dark fantasy kind of a
yeah,
novel. Okay, got it.
and
Sit.
I kind of lean more towards that because I feel like everything else is kind of written like high fantasy, like good guy. So
Sure.
I go with like concepts over well written stuff a lot of the time. This has like a well defined like power structure, spells, and all this other stuff, man. But
Okay,
I don't,
okay.
what have you been up to, man? What are you doing?
I would like to say a whole lot of nothing, man, but behind the scenes, big things are happening. Big things like
Got a lot of big things.
got a lot of big things going on, man. No, nothing, nothing too much, man. I'm just, as far as like
What's going
gaming
on
goes,
behind that green screen?
you can go fuck yourself. Is what's going on.
That's what
No,
everybody
no,
wants to know,
it's
dude. You got a lot of big things going on behind the scenes. What's behind the scenes of that green screen? That's what the people want to know.
that's that is actually some of the projects that I'm working on outside of
It's
it. There's like
classified.
it's like custom controllers that I'm working on. It's like behind there is my project shelf, and at this point it's unorganized, but I'll move it so I'll show off some stuff. But yeah, not today. Not today. It's
You
calling
gotta
me
show
out
off
on the green screen.
that hot Funko Pop collection, dude.
The Funko Pops are showing a little bit, you know. No, I've been working on just like other projects, man. Like I have a lot of time off coming out from my day job, and it's time for me to complete other projects that I'm doing. Like we have the pod. I had some other YouTube stuff that I really put on the back burner. There's I've convinced more and more of my buddies to get VR, so I've been playing a lot more VR lately
You
and
keep trying to sell
trying to
everybody
get
week to week
week
on
to
the
week on
podcast.
VR,
Yeah.
man. VR is the future, man. The future's here.
How
I
much is that Oculus Light? It's like $200 now.
300 299.99. Get
That's
that
that's
plus virtual
that's almost like
desktop.
an impulse. I think like a $200 is like, fuck it. I'll take a risk next week with my fucking rent payment.
Yeah, dude.
Like, that's that impulse buy
Yeah,
level. If they could get it to that 199 level, but
yeah.
399 is like I gotta think about it a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So how I got one of my buddies is Sir Solace. He I In our Discord we were all chatting, and I streamed myself and one of our other friends playing Creed, Rise to Glory, and it's like boxing game or whatever, and we're playing, and you know right now I'm as far as like the reboot, I am undefeated at the moment in Creed boxing. So then I think all my buddies low key want to punch me in the face. So
In real life.
yeah, yeah. So Sir Solace is also my brother-in-law, so I feel there's like some pent-up aggression
Does
there too.
Creed
And he's just
VR
like,
have online or
yeah, yeah.
okay? So you're
That's
fighting these
why.
people in real life
Yeah, yeah.
VR
Basically,
in real life, virtual life,
yeah,
where you're
yeah.
like,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So that's been fun, and like it's
I've
definitely a
heard like
video game at the same time. So it's like a stamina meter and stuff. So like if you're throwing too many punches, your gloves start like glowing yellow to red, meaning how tired you are. And then like if you throw a punch, your character in game's tired, so you get like this ghost punch. That I get the gamification of it, and not a lot of my buddies do. So they're just like they're like, why am I not hitting? I'm like, you're tired, bro. Just gotta block for a little bit or dodge.
yeah.
And I'm like pull popping them in the face or whatever. And I gotta like one knockout I got was and you run by like doing this. Do it backwards because
Okay, yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
locomotion in VR is just gives people the like motion sickness, so they had to do a different method. So controversial, but you like roll the dough to move, right? So I'm running at my buddy where I'm going as fast as I can. My character's like running straight towards him. I throw a left hook, and then after that one punch, dude just gets jaw jacked and dropped right away. And I back up. And I'm like, who's the bitch now?
Yeah.
Talking shit. So I got some of the buddies salty at me because they're all like, "Man, I'll beat your ass in real life." I'm like, "Dude, it's a game. Calm down, calm
Like
down."
it's just a
Like,
game, bro.
I got like it's like pretty much lifelong friends, right? Who are knocking at my door trying to going, "Come out here, motherfucker! I'm gonna beat your ass." So all because of Creed. But that's what VR is, man. Like. And
I
I think
feel
it's come to be that I have like probably the longest VR legs, despite not being the longest VR owner. I've probably put more time in because I think I have the space set up for it just all the time now, and
yeah.
the will to just force through like any motion sickness, like to the point where I don't experience it any longer. I never really have, but it's the point where I was in VR for like 10 hours, dude. It was fine. Like other
Yeah.
people are like, I gotta take a break after like an hour or two, and like I'm eating ice cream while still in VR, man. So that's that's
Like,
that's
this will
that's
help
where
with
I
my
am.
sea legs.
Yeah, yeah, that's where I am. I'm just trying to spread the VR love, man. I streamed Psychonauts VR game, which it's pretty simple. It's like you just look at what you're doing and you have like telekinetic powers. I'm planning on playing through Quake in VR pretty soon here. I think by the time this launches, I'll probably be in Quake VR. Should be pretty cool. But yeah, man, that's what I've been up to, just spreading the word and working on some projects.
It's
I,
right in the book of VR.
yes, man, always,
Do you think
always.
that VR adds like that extra dimension of like uh personality to it where it's like it doesn't feel like an avatar no longer offending me. It feels like you're offending. Like because like it there's like a layer of obstruction, but at the end of the day, that person knows like toe to toe. They're like, oh, like my stamina personally. So like a lot of these like web novels and stuff I read about are like, video game overlays,
Okay.
which is like a good way to show power creep. So if they're like physically capable of like still fighting and stuff, and they like feel like they're ghosting through you and stuff, they're like they almost feel cheated. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
yes, that is the disconnect. So, I mean, I'm sure there's other VR fighters that I just don't know about yet. But Creed, I think everyone likes the Rocky universe, for the most part. It's just
Yeah,
like an easy gateway into it. They're like, so I always play as Apollo Creed, right? Because he's just like this loudmouth, like cool dude, just with all the swagger in the world, played by Carl
yeah.
Weathers.
Rick
Um,
James coming to
so
America, Apollo
for
Creed walking
f-
in.
for sure, for sure, and I think like that kind of braggadociousness of Apollo Creed really kind of mimics who I am. So
All right,
I
yeah.
think seeing the avatar like fucks with my buddies. They're all like, "Fuck this dude!" They just want to extra punch me in the mouth. So it's been a cool thing.
who who do they play as? Is it Rocky? Is it like
It's been I fought against a lot of Rockies.
Dragos?
Drago himself,
They
Drago's
will
son.
crush you.
Yeah, yeah. Clubber Lang is another real big one. So yeah, Mr. T. So it's been
There's
good.
been one Mr. T. Come on. Nobody's picking Mr. T.
Mr. T is dope. So I
In
think
2021,
yeah.
Mr. T is not dope.
So I think that you're right that it's like an avatar thing, but when VR is done and done well, and this is why I'm so into it, is the memories of when you have a memory of playing a game, like you see the TV screen or whatever, when you have
Yeah.
memories of playing a VR game that's done well, it's like a memory where you're in it. It's like you
Yeah.
like your memory doesn't differentiate from real life to VR. It feel like playing Half-Life Alyx, for example. There's a scene or in the game where you're walking through like this minefield, and you can't touch the walls. There's zombies around, and there's combine soldiers that are infected with like the head crab zombies, and you have to be so still and while creeping through here, and it's just to not get blown up. It's one of the most tense scenes in the game, and like me talking about it now, it feels like a memory that I lived through, not something
Yeah.
I've played, but that I've lived through, and that is the appeal of VR. Is
Yeah,
I've
there's
lived
definitely
through it.
like something I was just talking with a buddy of mine, like a coworker, where we're talking about like they did like studies with like kids where they found that like in the 1980s, 1990s, there was like a lot of pseudo scientists where they would like interview like children and their like psyche. But what they found was like the scientists would lead them, like psychologists, sociologists, they would lead like the children in a certain way, and the kids would start to agree with them around like session 3 or 4, where it'd be like, "Hey, remember in like fifth grade when you had teacher so and so and did like XYZ?" And they're like, "That never happened. That's like that's ridiculous."
Yeah.
And like session 2, they'd be like, "Hey, remember like blah 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 like XYZ?" And then by the third or fourth session, they'd be like, "Yeah," and they would like start embellishing on like what happened. So it's like
It's gaslighting
uh,
these kids.
pretty much, but to like see like it takes like about like a month or so, or like three or
Mhm.
four like sessions of like your short term memory gets like short circuited by like external stimulus of like suggestion
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah, yeah. I
Uh
think that's actually a really, really great segue into what I wanted to talk about today, man. External stimulus really, you know, modifying of how you live, and I think that we all have an external stimulus that we keep in our pockets every day. This bad boy right here.
oh,
Cell phones, mobile games. I think that
coffee.
coffee, yeah, yeah, the stimulus there. I think that we are in an age where technology is so ubiquitous amongst us, where where we kind of have to take a step back and look how the hell we got there. What made phone games, for one, so popular to the point where the mobile market is just as big, if not bigger, than just like the traditional gaming market as a whole. And one
I
of the
think
things,
it's the XY's crossing where it is bigger now, or
yeah,
is closing in, where it's like everybody has a smartphone
yep,
capable of like running a lot of these like low tier apps of that are predatory in nature almost.
Yeah, yeah, very very true. And I think that to look back at it, we kind of have to look at killer apps
Yeah.
because like where mobile phones are, a big reason why mobile gaming got popular is not because cell phones got cheaper and everyone had one, but it's because you got games that were quick and easy to play and addictive. They had what I like to call like the Tetris effect
The
of people.
drip.
Yeah, so Tetris, I think everyone and their mom knows what Tetris is. You know, when it
I think
came
they
out,
said that Game Boy sold more towards housewives because of Tetris. Like when they packaged Game Boy with Tetris, it sold like a ridiculous skew. Speaking out of school, I want to say it was like 60 or 70% towards like uh housewife, like single women, like where they enjoy like that puzzle mechanic of like just figuring out like solving like a spatial awareness problem. But like they didn't proceed to buy any other games on Game Boy. They just like, oh yeah, when you pack in Tetris, that's all I want. Like I'm good. Like it's yeah,
it's one of those games where that's kind of all you need. You know, it's
yeah.
Tetris can be played like quickly. When I had a Game Boy, right, I played like I couldn't play like Super Mario Land quickly, like between classes, right? I could pull out the Game Boy, like walk into class, do just a couple of quick stages of Tetris, you know, clear as many lines as I could, pause that, go to class, and be
Boom.
good. You can't really like when you're playing Super Mario Land, you got to stop and you're like halfway through a level. It doesn't work the same.
I would
Tetris,
say to like Super Mario like 3 where they had like little breadcrumbs where you like stage 2, stage 1, 2, you know, like
yeah,
they started doing the hyphen where
yeah.
they kind of realized like those bite-sized games are like what really made the difference. But
Yeah, yeah, they had the hyphens in the first one, but I like on the mobile standpoint, I think yeah, that's true.
yeah,
It
and like
helped.
Tetris is all kind of based on like the Tetramino. I think it was like started in Russia, where it's like a Russian puzzle game where
Yep.
you like try and figure out like a spatial awareness thing. And I want to say it was like the Russian Academy of Science. Like there was a dude in there who uh, built the game, and he was like, "Oh yeah, this is kind of cool." And like there's like a long stored history of like Tetris you
Yeah.
can find on YouTube where the guy kind of talks about like trying to get past like because there was like a Cold War hashtag if you're not aware between like the East and the
The arms
West for a
race,
long
yeah.
yeah, well not even that but like patents and like everything else. So
Mhm.
like the Russian Academy of like Science couldn't really sell anything without like the Russian hierarchy of proofing it. So there's like a lone scientist who created this game, sold it via I want to say fax. He sent like a fax machine thing to like a dude, and he was like, "Hey, is this cool?" And the guy was like, "Yeah, this is cool for like X, Y, and Z." And
Yep.
he was like, "All right, good." But like that guy didn't really have the authority. It was like above him because like everything you created in like the Cold War communist Academy of Science belonged to like that academy. So like when he invented Tetris, they're like, basically you're using our computer, so basically we
It's
own this.
mine. Yeah.
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 Uh, and so like they sold it to like this external dude. And this external dude was like, "Hey man, maybe I own this." And then an external dude like gave it to a dude in Japan, and the dude in Japan uh, was like the third up on Nintendo's hierarchy, I want to say. And he
Yeah.
gave it to like the head of Nintendo, and the head of Nintendo was like, "Hey," because like the head of Nintendo, I guess at that time in the I want to say 80s,
Yep.
he was just like, "Is this game worth playing?" And like I want to say it was like Miyamoto, Shigeru Miyamoto, like he was like, uh, "Yeah, this is going to be huge." And he's like, "Why do you say that?" He's like, "Because all your secretaries are playing the
So everyone's
game."
playing it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Productivity has ceased because of
yeah,
Tetris.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so like from that, like they like launched it, but like that led to like more lawsuits. There's a ridiculous story. Like I
Yeah.
can't encapsulate like everything. There's like definitely YouTube channels that have like hour, 2 hour long videos of like documenting uh the impact, the literal impact of like what Tetris has done
Yeah.
for like the genre for basically unify like the East and the West of like ideas of like the getting over that like the Iron Curtain of what was communist Russia at the time and being like, this is a good idea and this is why, and then like the East and the West being like, yeah, this is great. Like so it
Tetris
became
ended the
almost
Cold War.
yeah,
Yeah.
hashtag Tetris
Right.
ended. No, but like it was like it definitely led to more talks that would not have happened between a lot of high level officials for patents and good ideas.
Yeah, the
And
global rights was definitely an issue. Like global trademark rights was definitely an issue.
yeah,
Then, yeah, yeah,
but there's definitely like something to say like the uh marketplace of ideas almost where you
yeah,
want good ideas to rise to the top, and Tetris was definitely like a revolutionary groundbreaking genre idea of like so yeah, I just didn't want to gloss over and be like, oh yeah, yeah, and then there was Tetris. It was like,
yeah.
no,
Tetris is a
Tetris
big
was
fucking deal. Yeah,
yeah. Tetris was like a huge deal.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
just for the children's watching in, 2052. Like,
Right,
they're like
right.
yeah, where they're like, oh yeah, whatever. Nobody plays Tetris anymore. We're all playing like VR hug space.
Dude, VR Tetris is one of the best things. Like it legitimately is. It doesn't stop. But yeah, Tetris was probably the first game that captured such a large, and I'm going to say casual audience, because it appealed
Yeah.
to hardcore gamers, it appealed to casuals. It really was the perfect marriage of it, and drove Game Boy sales through the roof. And so then you have that. You port it to the NES. It's in arcades. Everyone's play. It has the Pac-Man appeal, where everyone loves it, everyone wants to play it, everyone just gets on a basic level. You have to make a line, figure it out. Um, one of the most beautiful like puzzle games ever made. Now, each successive console has tried to emulate Tetris's success. Nintendo was lucky enough to get it, license it, and then move on to help sell mobile units. Sega tried with Columns, and Columns is a fantastic puzzle game in its own right. I think what betrays Columns is it plays slower than Tetris just by virtue of what type of puzzler it is, and the soundtrack was not as catchy as Tetris's. And then from that, Sega made Puyo Puyo, which came into the West as Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. Uh, and then, then we have kind of a arms race. Tetris Attack came out, which is known as like Puzzle Day Pun or Planet Puzzle League. I'm glossing over some of the other puzzle games. We had Dr. Mario, for example, and
Yoshi Island.
yo,
Like
yo,
Nintendo definitely was trying to recapture that match.
just yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But Tetris being on like a mobile console was like everyone. Like the big thing with getting a console is what game do you get, right? There was a no-brainer, Tetris, and it's packed in. That's all you really need. It's a great value. So the rise of mobile phones, especially in, uh, so everyone, male, female, has it, right? So you need a killer app. I think you know that killer app was kind of started on the PC sector with Bejeweled, and Bejeweled's gameplay was simple, addictive, short bursts, and a PopCap just made a banger of a game. And they had 3 sequels, I want to say. They got bought out by EA, and the
Yeah. Well, they
worst
didn't
thing
even
is
have
they didn't. Yeah.
just Bejeweled, but they also had like Plants vs Zombies, and
Yep.
they had a
Zuma
they
as
did
well.
that was their whole thesis though. Is like what you're saying is like really fun puzzle addicting
Yep.
games.
Yep. And from that, Candy Crush. Candy Crush. I don't love it or hate it. You have to respect it because of how large the market is. How like I'm pretty sure you poll anyone from the ages of let's say like right now 18 to 18 and up. Probably anyone with a mobile phone, like 90% of people have played Candy Crush or at one point had it installed on one of their phones. I'm not a big mobile gamer, but I've definitely played Candy Crush.
Yeah.
Um, definitely a killer app to kind of merge things, and it goes to show that puzzle games will always have a place, and I think they shine brightest in the mobile space because of how quickly you can play these things. One of the things that gets the most play from me to this day is actually Tetris 99 on the Switch. I play it all the time. Like I've never won a game. The highest I've gotten so far is third, multiple times, but I keep going back to it. Because the core gameplay loop is addicting. I see people who are like, you know, I want to say thousands of levels in. I don't know how many are in of Candy Crush, but they're still playing it because of that core gameplay loop. And mobile gaming, from the Candy Crush thing, you had copies. You had Angry Birds, which is just another puzzle game with like a physics element. Um, I'm like, it just, studios looked at it and saw, oh, we can, for a while, puzzle games were the number one genre, because of the mobile space,
Yeah.
and I think the gaming community, as a large, forgets that. There's like I
Well, they basically took that Candy Crush genre, and then everybody in that space tried to copy them. So you get like your Puzzles and Dragons, where they're like, what if we add
yeah,
RPG elements on top of this? Uh, you get like Puzzle Quest, which is
yeah,
like, what if we just rip off Puzzles and Dragons? Like
yeah,
you get like a lot of different like super generic like puzzlers
yeah,
that aren't really changing things so much as like just straight copy and pasting all the popular elements. And most people are like at that point, like, I'm good. I love Candy Crush, and like this is what I'm gonna play. Uh, but I think like those like uh, small steps led to like slightly bigger evolutions of ideas for the puzzle genre, especially like there's something about like the tactile feel of like on a mobile phone where you're pressing and moving,
yeah,
whereas like the analog feel of almost like the controllers,
yeah,
uh, where like as soon as like you're in there and like you're manipulating like that space, I want to say like again like Tetris began as like dodecahedrons or whatever, where they're like shapes in like a physical puzzle, like a wood box puzzle.
yes,
And I think there's like something in your like in our eight brains where like if you're like physically moving like wood blocks to like fill out like a puzzle space that like is extremely satisfying. Like you see in like Resident Evil with like
yeah,
Resident
yeah.
Evil 1 and
Slide
2 with the
puzzles.
the inventory management, not even like their puzzle mechanics of
Yeah,
just like this feels really satisfying when I can move things together in like a cohesive manner and then fit like what I want in that like empty space.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and uh, so you're right. A lot of, especially in the PC space, I feel Resident Evil is a good example of that. But you have something like Escape from Tarkov, where you're trying to get everything to just match in this, and you're just lining up those puzzle pieces, man. You're just making it fit.
become
Simpsons spoofed it as well, where Homer is like, "I need to get everything in the car." He's like, I've trained for this my entire life," and the Tetris music starts, and he gets like all of like the garage sale stuff in. He like he like makes the Tetris pieces out of his kids and like Marge and stuff, and fits everything in perfectly. It's one of those things where it speaks on just a deeper level than most other like modern games. You're like, with if you throw someone into like an RPG or an action game, you have to explain mechanics, you have to explain the story, you have to, it's a basic level understanding. Tetris and most puzzle games, the ones that are done well, you can look at it, explain it in like 3 sentences, and then just tell people to go. You know,
yeah,
make a line. Match three. Uh, you know, what's so Lumines is one of those ones where there's like a scan that comes in. It's like line these up before the scan comes in to get it going. So, puzzle game example is the killer puzzle app for the PSP. Each mobile game has one. Medios was the killer puzzle app for the DS. It's another one. Obviously, I think Tetris came out on the DS as well. It just did gangbusters. It always does. My favorite was Planet Puzzle League, where it's like tile matching. Puyo Puyo does very well for Sega. Puyo Puyo versus Tetris is another game that I'm really enjoying. Um, that being said, I think that to the measure of if your uh, console or platform of choice will be successful is one of the things that's overlooked, but it's kind of holds true to if it's successful or not. Does it have a addicting puzzle game, with mass appeal?
Yeah.
The Game Boy had Tetris, like it's not like a huge metric, but you can't have, or most people can't have a successful console without it. It's kind
Yep.
of like the bread and butter of it. Like it could
It's
be.
almost like you're saying it's like there's the whole casual market,
Hmm.
which is basically uh I'm gonna throw a random number out there from the top of off the dome, but
Okay.
I want to say it's like 60-70% of the marketplace is just people who want an extremely casual experience of something they can do in between things. Uh,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
for video game players, and I know like that term's extremely broad as well. But yeah, people who just want like the filthy casuals.
Filthy casuals. Yeah. Filthy casuals drive sales. Filthy casuals.
They got money
Um,
too.
yeah, they have money too, and they lead to uh, bigger and better games that are more you know complex and full featured than normal puzzle games. So I just wanted to take a second to recognize the importance of puzzle games you know in
And
our
filthy casuals.
video game space, and the filthy casuals that it seems like the hardcore gamers don't appreciate, which I think you have to.
I
Otherwise,
think that's a
this
lie. I
medium
think they
doesn't.
do.
You think they
I
do
think
respect
the
them?
yeah, I think hardcore gamers also respect puzzle games. I think there's like a big overlap of people who like if you had like the Venn diagram of people who love video games and people who just like puzzle games, I think there's probably like a good chunk overlap.
Yeah,
A lot of people will introduce people they love to the genre who otherwise wouldn't play video games like via puzzle games. So they're like, oh, maybe we can play Tetris together, and they're like, okay, and like you'll end up like playing a puzzle game that you otherwise wouldn't have, and like
yeah,
that's where it crosses over. I feel a lot. I don't think it's like an either or thing. I think that's why like things like Puyo Puyo, Tetris, Puzzle Quest
yeah,
are huge. They like
yeah,
get like like tens of millions of downloads. It's not like it's not by accident, dude. It's there's some science to it. I want to say,
yeah, yeah. So puzzle games helped bring the rise of mobile gaming. It helped the rise of you know gaming from your pocket with the Game Boy. It's something that can't be ignored. It'll if we get like a banger puzzle game in the VR space, it's going to be on an Oculus Quest exclusive, I'm
would
sure,
you
but it's going to
consider
drive sales.
was it like the VR Beat? What's that game?
Beat
The
Saber.
would you consider Beat Saber a puzzle game?
No, it's definitely a rhythm game, but it is the kill one of it's probably the killer app for it that has the broadest appeal, and it's worth every penny. Beat Saber is amazing.
I would say like the overlap between like a rhythm game and a puzzle game are like they're cousins. They're like really close together.
Yeah, yeah. As far as like just general appeal, for sure, for sure.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
before I even got VR, I thought
Not even
Beat Saber's gonna
general
be the game.
appeal. I would say like if it's done right, like a rhythm game should do these same patterns. Like I was playing like DDR with the professor,
Yeah,
and like I knew that the game wouldn't disrespect me in such a way that it would make an impossible move, if that makes sense.
yes, yes, it does. Yeah.
So like if it's going like da 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 da, like like a left right or left down right up,
Hmm.
it's going to like do like a semicircle, but it
Yeah, it's
won't
just
go
a big
like
pattern.
go like bop bop. It won't go like left down up right left like some almost impossible footstep work. If
Yeah,
that makes sense to
yeah. No, it
you.
does. It does. That's actually. So breaking down rhythm games, and I'll use DDR as the example as well, into it, it's just puzzles that you're solving in a different way, right? Because you're
Yeah,
right. Like well, most all DDR songs have like a I can't believe it, a rhythm to it, where you find
yeah.
the rhythm and you know just how to step. It's a puzzle you solved in your brain. Some of my favorite like DDR songs to play have like the best like movement feel,
Yep.
there's a couple like especially if you have like the two steppers where you're just going like left right up down or whatever, just kind of going back and forth. It's like a kind of like a quick jump hop switch or whatever. Feels amazing to do. And you're right, it's just I think the like dance games and rhythm games in general get that endorphin rush,
I would
but
say
with
like if
pattern
you come at
recognition.
it again with like that second level,
Yeah,
those like simple like double hops of like left, right, or up, down,
yeah,
they usually are led into with one of your feet already being on up or down or left or right. So
true.
like, if you have like to do like a quick double jump, your one foot's already gonna be on the right, so you only have to press left. So you only have to like do like a slight hop and then like boom, boom, boom. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's one of those things like you don't notice until you start looking for it, but like once you see it, you can't unsee it type of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. Beat Saber does a very similar thing, and I think all good rhythm games do. Like, you can have things coming at you that are like up, down, or whatever, and then if there's like a really fast one where it's flying at you super fast, it's like let's say you're doing a custom song, it's like Eminem's Rap God, right? Where he breaks down and he's just doing his super fast one, like one breath take. Um, like the sequence to it, it's like up, down, up, down, up, down, and you're doing it super fast, but it's like a natural motion. You're already like your lead in is already doing this. You just have to like time it with the beat. And it looks
Yeah.
impressive, but it's really if you understand the game and how things are happening, it's just natural with it. You just have to follow the flow of the song. My favorite like song to play in Beat Saber is Angel Voices. It is probably in my opinion, the best just general song in it. It has it incorporates almost everything in Beat Saber that you learn to succeed on expert, and it's just like your final test. Like if you pass Angel Voices on expert, you can handle pretty much every song in the game, and it's just really fun to like listen to it. But yeah, it has each section where you're just it's like a flow. Um, Puzzle games, rhythm games unlock like the state of flow, and I feel fighting games does as well. But I think the only time like I could explain it to where a casual like gamer will understand is from a puzzle game or a rhythm game, to where sometimes flow is happening. You're in it, and other like sports people call it being in the zone. It unlocks more with puzzles or rhythm games than any other genre. I feel. Where you just can't do no wrong, like you're doing perfect. Like if you're playing, even like it doesn't matter what like Osu, you can use that example. Elite Beat Agents, like playing Jumping Jack Flash on that is still like I still remember like the spin, and all of like the motions for it. It's like that state of zen or that state of flow that you're in, being in the zone, is one of the best feelings. And back in our fighting game episode, I kind of talked about how I like that sense of competition and like the competitive scene. One of the reasons why I like it is because it combines like that adrenaline rush with that sense of flow, and that that is the drug I feel like I'm always chasing. And back when I did competitive games, I was getting that endorphin rush and that just adrenaline spike all the time. And now that I'm a parent, I have a full time job, I have a house and stuff like that. I'm trying to go back to that, and where I get it is not just fighting games, but just in a competitive setting. And I can get it from playing Tetris. Like sometimes you're just clearing lines on Tetris like all the time, right?
Yeah.
And you
I
just
think
can't
like
be
what
stopped. It's there.
I think what puzzle games do the best is like give you that like a flow state, but like a constant like slow drip
It's that
of
slow
like
drip. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
where it's like, oh, like like I don't know, like Tetris again, we're kind of using the classic example, but like where like the early stages are slower and then like it ramps up speed. But like on the slow stages, like you start to kind of figure out things, And then when things speed up, like you start to understand things almost where you're
Yeah,
like, okay, like now I understand like how these blocks interact with each other and like how this space interacts with each other. And it gives you like a constant like uh almost strip state. But then I would say like when it gets even faster, that's when you start to get to like the flow state of like these
yeah,
bricks are like falling down like shooting stars, and I have to like move them and place them in such a way that they're going to be beneficial to
yeah.
like the current layout.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And it also kind of goes with that too, being in that state of zone too. I feel like your body is almost on autopilot. Like I don't think I blink when I'm like really going into like a good flow section, you know. I think after you're done with like the game, the event, whatever you're doing, after you're in that state, when you blink for the first time, or if you're like the type of person who like will stop breathing when you're doing it, it's like there's like this sense of like euphoric release after you're done. It's there's
yeah.
nothing like it. I feel like I understand why people do drugs. You know, it's like you get that same thing from really well placed games like that. So yeah, the thing with
Yeah.
the rise of
The
mobiles
entering
thing.
into like that flow state, forgetting about things around you, like focusing in on like I almost
Yeah,
get like tunnel vision where
yeah,
like the world like kind of blacks out around you and like you just focused in on like a single endeavor. And like almost like things start to slow down a little bit and you can like
yeah,
think like two or three moves ahead.
yeah,
And then like you'll hit like a point where like things are going too slow and you're like waiting for something to happen and they're like, why are things going too slow? And then it'll all start like falling down on you super fast. But
yep, yep.
uh,
Yeah,
there's
that's
definitely
the thing.
aspects. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So that's what puzzle games do. It unlocks that flow state for everyone. I feel like
Yeah. I think like we're inherently problem solving creatures as
yes,
human beings, and puzzles give you a solvable problem. And I feel like so often in modern society, like there's a lot of unsolvable problems, especially like on a personal level, where like you can get lost in a lot of things that don't matter. But like puzzle games kind of like compact it and be like, this is a simple solvable problem for you.
yeah,
Uh,
man. Yeah, so I think that's a good spot to for us to kind of wrap it up, man. I think that you know I think that we conveyed why puzzle games are important, what Tetris did for it, and I just kind of want to end it on a couple things. Like one, do you have a favorite puzzle game?
uh, I redid our logo for Puzzle Fighters 2,
Yeah,
and I think I said like Yoshi Island, earlier, but I want to say that game's called actually Yoshi Attack.
it's
Let me
not Tetris.
see.
It's Tetris Attack that you're thinking of. 100%
With
because it's my favorite.
Yoshi,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep. Yep. It's
okay.
Planet Puzzle
Tetris
League is what
Attack,
they.
Super
Yeah.
NES. Yeah,
Yep.
Tetris Attack for the Super Nintendo. Uh,
Yeah.
it
I
is not
absolutely love
Yoshi
that game.
Island. That's a completely different game.
I knew what you said. I just let
I
it
re
go. But thanks for
I saw
the
like you
thing.
looking at it, and I was like, "Fuck, that's the wrong name."
Yeah. I didn't want to stop your train of thought. I knew what you're talking about. But
Yeah,
yeah.
and like I knew it was kind of wrong when I said, it, but I was like, the one with the Yoshis and the
Yeah.
Tetris.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, Tetris Attack is super fun. Where that was the first time that I saw the genre be like where you have to get at least four
mhm.
items in a row, and that built up a power meter where you could unleash an attack on your opponent, where it just
Yep.
drops down like dead bricks on them, where
Yep.
they have to deal with those bricks by getting combos next to them.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It's. I'm glad you mentioned Tetris Attack. So it Nintendo. It's called Panel de Pon internationally, and Nintendo rebranded it as Planet Puzzle League. Um, that that's probably my second favorite puzzle game, like just ever. It's glorious. I think that if we have some time in the very near future, we should do a couple matches together on that because it's so fun. My favorite is the Puzzle Bobble series, also called Bust a Move. You have
okay.
bubbles that are different colors that are loaded up into like a shot thing. So you aim where you want it to go. The balls are on top, and you shoot and try and match the colors. Balls will fall down, and if you if you hit like the right amount of balls, there's a power one that comes back up and keeps hitting balls of the same color, so you can kind of cascade however many are falling. I did a stream during the summer, which I called the Tournament of Champions, where it was sports arcade games and puzzle arcade games. There's a random grab bag of who's best. I ended up winning. Puzzle Bobble was definitely my game, and it's something that it combines my love of shooters with my love of puzzle games and like that sense of
Yeah.
aiming and that sense of flow. It
I
unlocks it
love
pretty quick.
Bust the Move too, where they have like it might be like I don't know if this is the first time that this happened in a puzzle game, but it have maybe it's in Bust a Move 1, but I know for sure Bust a Move 2 where they have a story mode almost where it
Yeah,
has a field and a problem to solve and like you have a set order of colored marbles you get and
yeah,
like you have to kind of like be like it's I think yellow, green, red, blue.
hmm,
And so like you get like a certain marbles, and when you get one branch that has like an extended branch, if you get the earlier branch, like it knocks down the whole other branch,
yeah,
and it almost rates you on like how few marbles you use to like understand like the bigger puzzle
yeah, yeah.
that's
It's
presented.
it's definitely one of the first to do it. You're right. I the I think the Puyo series does it as well. I can't like my favorite Puyo game is Puyo Pop Fever, or Puyo Puyo Fever, which it's just like a faster, more like combo centric mode. People like go. There's like a sect of people who love Fever, and there's a sect of people who love Two, and like Puyo Puyo versus Tetris has or two. I don't know about the first one 'cause I haven't played it, but I own the second one. Has like fever mode as well, which is just like intense. So yeah, I think that puzzle games adding a story mode, it can be done hokey. But there's certain things about solving like preconceived puzzles that kind of it's like, do you do chess? Like you mentioned chess earlier. Do you do chess puzzles, or have you tried them?
Those are like the only thing. Like I don't enjoy playing chess anymore, but I still love like a good chess puzzle
Yeah,
where it'll be like solve this in one move for like a checkmate.
yeah,
And like you have to like look at it and like every piece has a mechanical movement that you have to consider and be like, what am I missing here?
yeah, yeah.
I feel like that elevates like there's like can't think of what I'm thinking of now. Like I know
Sorry.
there is that concept gets pushed to I want to say like there's an RPG game. Magic not Magic the Gathering has a mode like that as well. The
Were
online mode.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Sorry, I was thinking like RTS, but then I was like
But it's
thinking
definitely a card
Magic.
game. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I was like, oh yeah, fucking Magic the Gathering. It has one where and like I want to say Hearthstone also has it
Okay.
where it's like this is a puzzle defeat the enemy in one turn, like deal 20
Sure.
damage,
Sure.
and you have to like look at like all the cards at your disposal, and dispense like that amount of damage, and win the game. And I think like the simplified, I've always loved like those modes,
Yeah.
and I love like that where it takes like a bigger strategic game and breaks it down into a single move or turn strategy or puzzle
Yeah.
where it's like this is a bigger strategy game, but like really what you're doing is solving smaller puzzles along the way.
Yeah.
Uh, and like, yeah, I definitely enjoy that stuff, man. What about you? Do you uh, ever mess with like you fuck with like Magic the Gathering online?
Never online. I've played Magic like in a small social circle. Most CCGs just have that cost to the barrier of entry that just doesn't appeal to me. The meta changes so often that I I just can't keep up. I do enjoy them. I I think that like Hard on the Table, our mutual friend here. I think my favorite thing is watching him play something like that
Yeah,
because he has such a high concept level and a great memory for planning attacks. I feel like watching back when he streamed Hearthstone. Uh, he would do like I think the arena modes or something, and
Yeah.
it always felt like he was 6 moves ahead of the other player, and there's that level of just knowledge of the game as a whole, of what cards that your opponent probably has in his deck based on like what he's playing, like what strategy he's playing, that I think is incredible. But it's just something that I've never really put much time into. Um, like with the exception of a roguelike game called Slay the Spire. I think that's like the closest I've gotten to that. So yeah. But yeah,
Yeah,
not
man.
really, but Slay the Spire is probably the exception.
So we've come to the conclusion that card games, TCGs, are also mini puzzle games
Yeah.
in their own right.
Yeah, that's what we
Yeah.
uncovered, man. But yeah, dude.
Yeah.
So I just want to end it here, just saying definitely sound off in the comments of what your favorite puzzle game is, what you get out of it, why.
Like,
Uh,
subscribe, follow Mister Gimpy on Twitch TV.
appreciate it, man. Definitely hit that like button. Hi to my daughter Charlie here. She just woke up. and and
I
everybody
think that
have a great rest of your day.
for a week.
Take care,
Please.
bye.
Goodbye.